Imagine reading a story where every single sentence just states the literal facts. The room was gray. The door was closed. It was quiet. Pretty quickly, your brain starts to drift. Purely factual language gets the point across, but it doesn't give your imagination much to see. To fix that, writers use figures of speech. These aren't just fancy labels. They're ways to project a vivid, colorful movie directly into your mind using nothing but words. We're going to look at 4 of the most powerful ways to do this: similes, metaphors, hyperboles, and personification. While facts build the basic skeleton of a story, they leave everything flat. By using these 4 techniques, you can grab your readers and pull them into a 3-dimensional world that feels real. Let's start with the simile. A simile takes 2 completely different things and places them side by side to show off one specific trait they have in common. The giveaway that you're looking at a simile is the use of 2 specific words, like or as. If you see either of those connecting 2 different ideas, the writer is making a simile. For example, when using as, you might say someone is as brave as a lion, or if a math problem is super simple, it's as easy as pie. We can do the same thing with the word like. A tired baby might have slept like a log, or you could describe fresh strawberries as red like roses. Similes are effective because they leave a clear path for the reader to follow. The words like or as act as a bridge, making the connection between 2 different things very easy to see. Once you're comfortable with similes, you can move to the metaphor. This is a bolder, more direct way to paint a picture. With a metaphor, you claim one thing actually is another thing. To do this, you remove the bridge words like and as entirely. So instead of saying a runner moved like a cheetah, you make the leap and say Ben was a cheetah. He isn't literally a wild animal, but saying he was one shows exactly how fast he ran. You can use this for almost anything. We say time is a thief when the day disappears. A noisy room becomes the classroom was a zoo, and a heavy winter storm means the snow was a white blanket. A metaphor works because it erases the boundary between 2 different subjects. By cutting out the comparison words, you force the reader's brain to fuse both ideas into one single strong image. While similes and metaphors are about making comparisons, our 3rd technique, which is known as hyperbole, is all about completely bending reality. Hyperbole is an intentional, impossible exaggeration used to make a point or be funny. The key is that a hyperbole shouldn't be taken literally. It's just too big to be true. For instance, you could tell someone you're very hungry. That's a fact, but it's a bit plain. It's much more descriptive to say, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. You probably use hyperbole all the time. You might complain about a mountain of homework, tell a friend you've told them 1,000,000 times, or say a heavy bag weighs a ton. You aren't actually carrying a literal mountain of paper, and that bag doesn't actually weigh 2,000 pounds. Hyperbole works because it communicates how something feels to you, which is often more interesting than the dry facts. That brings us to our final technique, personification. This is how writers breathe life into things that aren't actually alive. Personification happens when you take an object, an animal, or even a feeling and describe it as if it were a person with its own actions and emotions. In nature, instead of just saying the air moved, we can say the wind whispered through the trees. Or, looking up at night, we could say the stars danced across the sky. It works for everyday objects too. When you wake up, the alarm clock screamed at me. Or, when a lucky moment arrives, we say, opportunity knocked on the door. Alarm clocks don't have voices, and opportunity doesn't have hands. But our brains are naturally tuned to pay attention to human behavior. Giving human traits to these things makes them feel much more relatable and active. Now that we've covered all 4, let's see how they look when they're used on the exact same subject. Let's describe the moon. To compare the moon, we use a simile. The moon is like a lamp. Or a metaphor. The moon is a lamp. For scale, use hyperbole. The moon is bigger than my house. To bring it to life, personification. The moon smiled down at me. See if you can tell which is which for these 3 phrases. She cried a river, water as clear as crystal, and opportunity knocked. Let's see. Crying a river is a massive exaggeration, so that's hyperbole. Using as to compare water to crystal is a simile, and giving opportunity the ability to knock is personification. These 4 ways of describing the world help take your writing to the next level. Just remember the basic patterns. Similes use like or as. Metaphors say is. Hyperbole is a massive exaggeration, and personification gives things human traits. The next time you're writing, look for a spot where a plain fact could be replaced by a more vivid image. It's the difference between just telling someone what happened and making them feel like they were there. When you use these techniques, you aren't just describing the world, you are inviting people to see it through your eyes. Happy writing!